This is the Town of Orleans Select Board meeting. It is still January 28th. Thanks, everybody, for navigating here through your snowbanks, and I'll call our meeting to order on Wednesday, January 28th, 2026, in the NASA Meeting Room of Orleans Town Hall, about 3:04 p.m. On our agenda is the Zoom login information as well as the phone if folks want to dial in by phone using the webinar ID. So I call this to order. With us at the table are Select Board members Andrea Shaw-Reed, Michael Herman, myself, your chair, Kevin Galligan, and Mark Matheson. Kim Newman, town manager, and our presenters today, our assistant town manager, Mark Reel, and Darren Tangeman. Darren, thanks so much for all the work you and staff have put in together. Just a intro, Darren will give you a little bit more detail, but this is the first of multiple budget workshops. We've started earlier in the cycle. Thank you, Kim. There'll be multiple opportunities, so as you might think about something after the workshop today, you'll have another opportunity to come back and welcome any and all folks. So I know Tim Coonahan, we talked earlier today, as it's appropriate to bring up something, I'd certainly welcome you. This is not a public hearing, it's a workshop, so certainly welcome any and all input. But at this point, again, thank you for Finance Committee members who are here, other interested citizens, whether you're listening at home. By all means, this is a great time to delve into any and all line items of the budget. We have the right folks in the room, or if we don't, we'll find them. So Darren, I'll turn things over to you. Take us through the kickoff of FY27 town operating budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to start off with, I want to give a few updates before we kind of jump into it. If the Select Board and or the Finance Committee look in your emails, you'll see an updated capital improvement and CIP that'll be there for minor adjustments there, and it has a minor impact to free cash. I will just real quick just say what the new free cash numbers will look like. Basically, what we're looking at in terms of free total capital spending is $3,615,700, with free cash still free cash assumptions being at $5,194,979. Yes, I'm sorry. So what we'd be using in terms of appropriations would be $3,600,000, but we're looking for free cash at town meeting of $2,254,279. It's a little bit of about a $350,000 difference, I think.
In line with your memo.
What was before? Yeah, I just want to make sure that that's been updated. You'll see the changes in the capital improvement plan and CIP, which will be a part of your packet next week. But I wanted to just get that to you earlier because there'll be a conversation today, I'm sure, about the police department's capital and fire and so forth. So that's updated. Another thing that just came in today, I believe, or this week, was our cherry sheet. And so I just wanted real quick general statement in that it looks as if our cherry sheet revenues will increase by about $35,819 this year from last year. So we'll see that.
We'll take it.
That wasn't in the previous revenues. So that's an increase that we'll see. Today, I think the intent is going to be to focus on general fund. We'll go through OpenGov and talk you through kind of what it looks like as a staff member to look at OpenGov. Next week, you'll see more from what the community will see from a presentation perspective. But this is what our proposals look like on the inside of OpenGov. So you'll see it from there. And we'll go through, we have police here today and fire departments here today to speak to their budgets. And then we'll go budget by budget as far as we can go through OpenGov. And Mark will help us navigate through that. And you'll get to kind of see how we navigate through it for that. And be able to answer your questions. And then next week, I think that the intent's going to be to focus on enterprise funds. There'll be some economic development will be next week. And I believe we'll be looking at the capital and CIP next week. So those are big ones for February 4th. And then we'll have another one the following week.
Great.
All right.
Darren, one quick one, only because we've talked OpenGov and I can see you've now populated, but could you start from the beginning? If someone got home, opened their computer, how would they find what we refer to as the OpenGov budget?
Well, yeah. Right now, it's not published, so you wouldn't be able to get to it yet. This is the internal side.
Okay.
We'll be publishing it next week, and I'll go through that, but it'll be a link on our website. It'll be a part, it'll be integrated into our website, so we'll have a link for anybody to go to and see it. In it, they will actually be able to manipulate, I say manipulate the budget, but be able to export pieces of the budget if they want to, and be able to do their own calculations if they want under those circumstances. So there's some really cool pieces of this program, but this is the internal view that you're seeing today, and so I'll let Mark go through this. This is basically the splash page for the operating budget, what we see in terms of revenues and expenditures.
Yeah, this page here, what you're seeing on the screen, is including everything, even outside of the operating budget. So when you used to see the page that looked like, let's see, I'll show you. This. It showed all of the things that went into the budget. That's basically what this number is. So the spreadsheet you received with just the operating budget and all of the departments, then the end number looks different, right? This number shows all-inclusive, all the revenues, all of the transfers and expenses related to revenues that we have. Behind that is the proposals, which are individually done by department. And let me pull this over. Within these, which we'll get into, I think we'll do police first, you'll see the breakdown by line item of what's budgeted and some data behind what is included in some of those line items. So you'll really get a view of, much deeper view than you may be used to.
This is great.
And it could be interesting. So why don't we start with police? So as we're building the budget, and
Yeah, please.
just to give you an
Chief McDonald.
idea of, as we've been building these budgets out, the data that we have in front of us is past year's actuals, and then that helps to inform conversation about the current fiscal year budget number, or the future, I guess you should say, FY '27, and how that number is really calculated. And I know there were some questions getting off track for a moment, but around electricity for departments and how we got to some of the numbers we did, seeing reductions. And really, it was the past actuals that informed our conversation around that. So
Real quick, also, as part of you can see up there under line items, to the right of that is positions. So there's a workforce plan that Mark has worked on to develop for every department. So all the personnel for each one are embedded in there as well. And if you click on one of them, you can also see that behind that is, it's every stipend, every benefit is associated with those positions. And as you increase certain percentages, like if you increase the salary, it has an impact. It automatically does that for us, right? So you can see to the right there, it basically aggregates all those into the main number. But it based on the salary, it often changes those different allocations for those specific group insurance and so forth. So that's why it's nice to have that as part of our system.
Great.
Okay.
So one quick one with Chief McDonald here, as well as I see Chief Deering, with Police and Fire. It's a very busy time with certain weather-related events, so thank you for both being here, as well as Rich Waldo, our DPW superintendent. You could have other things to do, so we appreciate your time spent with us on delving into the budget. So, Chief.
I'll start by introducing Jill Hull, if you don't know her. Jill is my assistant, and I'll be honest with you, she is the brains behind this operation. She is the one that does the bulk of the work here, so she deserves a lot of credit. Just in terms of our philosophy, if you will, we respect the tax dollar. I attend many meetings with chiefs, and I hear about the new shiny toy that's out in our profession. I think that we have demonstrated over the years that we're not going to purchase things. I'm not going to request a purchase for something that we're not certain it's going to improve our effectiveness and efficiency. And that's our goal. Those two things are really key to us. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to ask for it unless we need it, unless we can justify it. I want to talk a little bit about our current staffing. Our authorized full-time strength is 22 officers. That hasn't changed for many years, ladies and gentlemen. We've been at that strength. The last time we had an increase was a school resource officer, and the district picks up 10 months of that full cost for that position. We currently have 3 officers in the academy with 4 vacancies remaining. The reason why I bring this up is that although we are paying these officers to go to the academy, and we're not seeing the benefit for those resources being out on the street. So that does a significant impact on the budget. The good news is that we're in the middle of a hiring process right now. We're seeing some talent come through the door, and we're evaluating that talent. And hopefully, over the next few weeks, I'll be coming to this board with recommendations for appointments of student officers. We are not expecting any retirements in the upcoming years. I think I'm probably next on the list a few
no,
years
you're not.
down the road. So that is really good news. We have a young but talented group. I am extremely pleased at where we are right now, and I am really looking forward to the future. My goal is that when I leave, this board hires from within, not only the chief, but the command staff gets elevated through. With that said, I just want to go over just maybe a couple, which we used to refer to as significant increases in the budget. So you may see some significant percentage increases, but the dollar value probably isn't that much more. But just to go over a couple things that your attention may have been called to, repair and maintain public property. How do we care for our facility? It's a beautiful facility. We moved in 2018, and we are so thankful to have it. But with respect to this specific line, ladies and gentlemen, this is a moving target. We do our best to predict what our financial needs will be. This past year has been devastating. Jill enlightened me earlier. I think at this point on the boiler, $18,000 just on the boiler alone. One of the things that I was very surprised when we were designing the facility is the amount of technology that's in these buildings. I'll give an example. Light switches. All I want is a light switch with a dimmer. No, chief, you can't have that. You have to have these complex software-based, computer-based systems, which have been nothing but a problem since we moved in. That costs money. And I was told it's code. There's nothing we can do about it. So those are the challenges that we have. So again, this is a moving target. We came in with this figure based on our historic expenditures in the last couple of years. The building's going to get older, and we don't see this changing anytime soon. But we are on top of it and keeping a close eye on it. The other issue is actually a 133% increase, which amounted to $3,000, was surface equipment. That's for like our summer officers on the bicycles. We got to maintain those bikes, get a long life out of those bicycles. The electric bicycles, which is great for them. They can get to their location a lot quicker and safer than before. So that's the reason that we had that increase there. Vehicles, I'm going to describe that the same way as I did for the facility. It's a moving target. This has been a devastating year for us with the Ford Explorers. I am not a fan. We have put thousands of dollars into the repair of these vehicles. Looking forward, we're going to see what other options we have, whether or not Chevy's going to get back into the game, Dodge, and again, we want to get the most out of the value of these vehicles. So you do see a little bit of an increase there.
Chief,
Yes.
just jumping in quickly, did you just, as part of the storm duty, bring on a new four-wheel drive?
And thank you for bringing that up. So one of the things, the Explorers are all-wheel drive with a very low clearance. So I don't want anyone to think that these are our four-wheel drive utility vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a beach that we need to get out to. We have that F-150 truck, which is a great tool for us to have. We purchased the supervisor's vehicle, which is the Tahoe. So someone may ask, why do we need this big gas-guzzling vehicle? Well, there's a purpose behind this. Number one, there's a tremendous amount of equipment that goes into the supervisor's vehicle, less lethal ammunitions, we have ballistic shields. There's a lot, trust me. Get into locations, and this last snowstorm is the perfect example. We had many locations that our cruisers could not get to. That vehicle, along with the truck, were able to get there. So those are the reasons why we need to have the beach, the snowstorms, and the equipment. Now, do I want a fleet of those vehicles? No, I do not. But I think if we have 2 legitimate four-wheel drive cruisers, that's going to meet our needs.
Great.
I don't see any other real significant increases in the budget. This is a pretty standard budget for us, but that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns anyone may have.
Yeah, I would just note, and Kim, you can chime in again, just remind folks that the salary increases we saw were because of the very positive relationship we struck last year in the collective bargaining agreement. So there's no surprises here in terms of these increases, right?
If I could just give you a real brief description of the climate on the Cape right now. Pretty much every department's looking for officers. Things are coming back. Things are really coming back. I'm thinking positive about this. Kim and her team put together a contract that allows us to be competitive, and we're seeing that right now. So I thank you all for that.
It's the second year, right? So FY '27 will be the second year of the 3-year agreements that we negotiated with all employees.
Any questions of the chief from the board? Andrea?
Just one, Chief. In your opening remarks, you talked about the size. What's the right size of?
Microphone, Andrea.
Sorry, thank you. The right size of the force.
Yeah.
Do you have any further thoughts you'd like to?
When we are fully staffed, I am confident that our authorized strength meets our policing needs for this community. Now, when we're fully strapped, I
Yeah.
mean, the last couple of years have been difficult,
Right.
and I commend our officers for stepping up. These men and women aren't getting a lot of time off. They're working hard, and they have just done a remarkable job. When I'm looking at area departments and, we need X amount more employees, no, we don't need it. And maybe they do. I'm not getting into their business, I'm not looking at their stats, I'm looking at ours.
Right.
And right now, if I needed another body, I would come in here and try to justify it to you. We don't need that right now. We're good. We're solid. We have a really good department, and our authorized strength is right on.
22,
Thanks,
great.
Michael?
Hi, Chief, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Quick question, the vehicles, I noticed, I got one question from people were, the vehicles at the schools that are there during the day, we're not updating those as fast as,
No, that is usually the oldest vehicle we
Yeah,
have.
right, that's what I
And
expected.
a couple things that we do. We try to get the most out of our resources.
Sure.
Couple things. You want that as a deterrent. You want that black and white right out in front. That's why we do that. Hey, there's a police officer in this building. And then we try to be creative, and I've talked about the ghost police car. Maybe there's a cop in that car, maybe there's not, and we switch that around, and, some people I've gotten angry calls about why are you putting an empty car out there, because it works. It slows people down, and now with technology and MapQuest and all these things out there, they'll pinpoint that vehicle being there, and that will slow people down itself. So that's something we're going to do, but we utilize older vehicles for that purpose.
okay, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
If I may, just for people at home who might be looking at the budget, police other, that's the salaries. Is that correct, labeled?
Police other, Joe?
When you're looking
Police
at,
union, others, yes.
when you're looking at the one in the packet, that's what it is, okay. And that follows with all the other departments. When it says other, is that salaries for the most part?
Any line that is 001, so you see like, this account code is 2100001, that's a salary-related line.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, when you look through it, obviously, it's the largest one.
So would our reserve officers be an example of that?
They're above that, though.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
starts, it's ranked a little bit. We're starting at the top, you just go from there.
Right, so if you look at the screen,
Yeah, I'm looking at the one in the packet.
these are all
Similar
salary lines.
Same.
They're all salaries.
Okay, I just want people at home, there's questions I've gotten, when it just says other, they're getting confused. So,
Yeah, there's like 24 of them or so. Yeah,
Yes.
There's a lot of lines, but they're broken out by all the different,
And that's the largest line, by far.
the other.
Makes sense. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. Can I just add one real quick thing? I know body cameras, I get a lot of questions about that, and I know it's a capital expenditure, but just so you know, we have put in for a grant, we're waiting to hear back from the state, and we also received another grant opportunity that we're exploring right now through the Small Rural and Tribal Body Camera Program. That's something, it's an in-kind, but it's something that we're gonna throw our hat in the ring and see if we can get some more funds out of this. So I just wanted to give everyone an update on that. It's something I get a lot of questions about.
If I may, just to follow up on that one, that you brought it up, people were looking at, I think it was 260.
Yep.
And then I know you explained this, though, how does that fall in the next couple of years? We can either talk it now
Sure.
or later,
Yeah.
depending on how you want.
In
but-
terms of the timing of the
No,
process?
assuming it costs 260 to get us up
Recurring,
and
yeah.
running,
What's the
and the
recurring?
equipment, and
Yep.
also the software.
What's the
and-
recurring
yeah.
cost?
What's the yes.
Yeah, so it was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was a 5-year program. So at the end of I think it was in year 3, we could re-up it for another 5 years at a reduced cost from waiting to the end of the period, of that 5-year period.
So are we just simply saying basically it's $50,000 a year for this program?
Yeah, that is an option. You could pay it upfront, the entire cost, or you could break it up into installments. That was an option. Now, this is just one vendor, Motorola, that we were dealing with. To be honest with you, we've done a lot of research, and there's another vendor that we want to explore, and I'm going to have another, an open meeting. Hopefully, our chair can attend that with the chair from FinCom, who were so graciously invited to the last process. So we're not there yet. These are not, they're relatively hard numbers,
Yeah, yeah.
but they may adjust a little bit. Hopefully, they're going to reduce.
Thank you.
Anything, Mark? Okay. Anything to add, you guys?
Well,
Mark?
want to,
Bring up the CIP.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
And again, FinCom, if you'd like to chime in, or anyone else, by all
Convene
means.
their meeting.
What's that?
They can convene the meeting. Do they need to?
It's not listed. I don't know if you posted FinCom as a meeting, but
yeah, the
you're more than
best.
welcome to chime in.
Yeah. It'll be current.
Kevin,
Yes, please. Dick?
when do the 3 officers that are in academy graduate?
So the question is, if it wasn't heard on camera, Chief,
Yep,
repeat.
so the question was, when did the 3 officers in the academy graduate? So they were attending 2 separate academies. The 2 officers will be graduating in late March, I believe, and then soon to be followed within a couple weeks with the 3rd officer. Then, it's important to note, those officers go into field training for 14 weeks. So that means we teach them how to police in this community. They gotta learn the roads, they gotta understand our policies and procedures. So even though they're gonna be graduating, but there's still a lot more to it. And again, speaks to the investment that we make in this personnel and how important retention is when we're talking about spending 70 grand to train an officer.
So they'll be ready at peak summer, Dick.
So they should have an impact on overtime at some point.
So with respect to the impact that they have on overtime, yes. So right now, when I have, when we have a vacancy because of an officer is attending the academy, I have to backfill that case when we reach a minimum manning. I'm not going to go into specifically how many officers we allocate on the road because that wouldn't be a smart thing to do. But when we have, most of the time, we have to backfill those positions with overtime. So to answer your question, yes. More people we have, the less overtime is expended.
Had one.
Thank you, Chief. Real quick, I just want to add something. Go ahead, sorry. Sure.
Is it to supplement this?
It is, yeah.
Okay, please.
So in front of you have the capital budget for there's 3 elements in here for the police department. I'll let Chief speak to it, but I want to just touch on one thing, is that you see, based on the capital policy, anything under $25,000 is not considered, right, the asset that should be included. So, and because these cruisers don't necessarily work independent of the radios, the terminals, and the shield systems, we've incorporated that as part of each one of the systems itself, the vehicle system itself. So the radios, terminals, and shield systems are included in that. So you'll see an increase in the total cost of the cruiser replacements, the two, with the addition of those items, because they wouldn't necessarily stand alone as a separate capital request.
Really good point. Lynn, you had your hand up, please. If you can grab a mic anywhere.
So these are easy because we rehearsed one of them at least. And one was maybe just to give us a quick general update on what the focus of the force is right now. What are you working on? What's important? Is it traffic stops? Is it drugs? Is it what? And the other one is maybe an update on the timing of the cycle for the accreditation program. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
So in terms of what our focus is right now, I can tell you what my focus is evaluating our personnel, and really, we're young, and my focus needs to be on their development, and that's what I'm doing right now. The focus of the department as a whole, it's a great question. We are constantly analyzing the data that we collect for calls for service. Where are we going? Where are our resources being deployed? I can tell you right now, I have seen an uptick in narcotics issues in town. It's something that we have a plan in place without going into too many details on that, so that is a primary focus. As you know, we are blessed to have Lieutenant Andy McLaughlin, who really has taken a lead on the Cape-wide with scams and, fraud and those type things. Right now, I had a brief discussion with our chair, Kevin, about cryptocurrency and some of these crypto ATM type machines that we see in town that, believe it or not, that's something we do need to address because they're being used fraudulently. So something for a later discussion. Obviously, roadway safety is incredibly important, and the most frequent complaint that I get from citizens. We work closely with the Traffic Study Committee, Advisory Committee, try to formulate traffic calming procedures, devices that we can bring in. I hate, enforcement is necessary, but it is not the answer to this situation. So it's something we're really, really focused on. And then regarding, stats that we see, different types of crime, I'm going to be coming into the board on February 4th to give them in-depth review of our stats. We put together a 3-year comparison for everyone to take a look at. So we can dive a little bit deeper into this on February 4th.
Yeah, if I can add, and the chief is delving into this carefully, as well as what other communities have done with some example, perhaps bylaws, on the cryptocurrency terminals. There are 2 in Orleans, one at the Speedway in South Orleans and one at the Cumberland Farms. So it's...
Yeah, and I won't get into any specifics, but you would be shocked at the number of people that have fallen victim to these types of scams in our community. I'm not talking hundreds of dollars. I'm talking thousands, if not over $100,000. So this is something we need to be on top of.
under the radar, untraceable.
Yes.
All right, folks. Any other questions about police? Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, and Jill,
Yes, and
the
Jill.
wizard.
Yeah, she's the one. She's the one that deserves all the credit.
All right, Darren, Mark, brief intro on fire rescue. Come on up, chief. Good to go from you two? Okay. Chief, welcome.
Hi,
to see
good
you.
afternoon, everyone. It's good to be seen. Please shovel your hot fire hydrants.
Exactly.
We're going to do it again this weekend, it looks like. Good afternoon. I think a quick overview from the fire rescue side of the town. A staffing update. I mean, really, the key to the fire department is the people who work there. And this town has supported our staffing model over the last few years, which we are incredibly grateful for. We've hired the 8 positions since 2023. And overall, we've hired 16 new members since 2020. That's half of the department has been with us 5 years or less. I think it's important to mention it was mentioned previously, but with the new collective bargaining agreements that went into effect last year, that has had a major impact in our ability to recruit and retain new members. Most recently, we've hired 3 new firefighters to Orleans since August of this year, of 2025. All 3 of those came from other departments with previous experience, somewhere between 8, 10, one with nearly 20 years of full-time firefighting experience, which has been, to back up just the 20 or the 16 members that we've hired since 2020, the level of talent that we bring in, I'm incredibly proud of. Each one of those members brings something to the table. But having a department that had such limited experience, bringing in these 3 members that have experience from other departments has been a real nice shot in the arm, if you will. They've done this, and they bring in that experience to help with our newer people who are a bit less experienced but eager and talented. It's been a really good thing, and we are very grateful for that. It has put us in a very good spot from a recruitment, and really, I think it's put Orleans Fire on the map, and people are noticing how talented we really are, our organization is, and how up and coming it is. It's pretty exciting to be involved in that, and I'm very grateful as chief to be able to bring this talent in, and that serves our community very well.
And Chief, I can add to that only because I know a number of the FinCom members will remember this, and Mark Matheson as well. You know, we go into executive session over these many years on collective bargaining strategy. Again, the significance of last year's agreements, as you said, Chief, was awesome. However, Mark will remember, you know, in the previous negotiations, you know, we did commit to ourselves, even though we couldn't get all the way as we did last year, we sent the message to our membership that we had some budget constraints. We did what we could, but we did commit to them, and we followed through with meeting that. So these are multi-year commitments that town leadership tries to take to send the right signals to people that we're with you. And glad to hear the positive response.
Yeah, it's exciting. Just within that, the number of the members that we brought on in the last few years were not paramedics. There was we had a significant challenge for a period of time nationally, but particularly here on the Cape, finding paramedics. So we have enrolled a number of our staff in paramedic training. We have 2 that are already in, and then we have a total of 4 more that are going to start, some very soon and some a little later this year. 4 of those out of the 6 are being funded through a federal grant that Deputy Gula was able to secure, which was huge. It's a $231,000 grant to cover that, which is really exciting. Now, that takes time. To go through paramedic school is about 18 months from beginning to end. So that impact as far as increasing the level of the numbers of paramedics in the department, we won't see for a little bit, but it's this is a good trajectory we're on that way. Just as a note, I do have 2 members, and until recently had 3 members out on long-term medical. So that continues to always be getting the challenge is having the right number of people on duty at the right time, in honoring time off and those types of things that are all part of the collective bargaining agreement and are really important to our staff, but also being able to answer the calls. That is always a challenge for me, is because we can't predict when the calls are going to be. So that is part of it. Additionally, we have been trying to focus more on professional development and education of our staff. Again, going back to, we've hired so many new people in the last 5 years or so that really investing in them, training them, bringing them up to speed, because they are going to transition into leadership roles in our organization as time goes on. But we've got to set the foundation. And quite honestly, that wasn't as focused on as it should have been in years past, and we're trying to get back to that. And that's, I think, there's an appetite amongst our staff to develop in different ways, and we're trying to find those different tracks for people because there are things that they bring different talents to the table. We want to invest in those and continue to do that. Our trends really, our calls are increasing. 2024, we had 2,812 calls. 2025, 2,866. But embedded in that is 75 more transports to the hospital than we did the previous year, and that translates into time that our crews are out of town. It translates into wear and tear on the vehicles. It translates into use of medical equipment. It also translates into a bit more revenue that we are able to bill for ambulance service. But really, as we continue, the trend is clearly upward as far as the number of calls for service that we're seeing. And that's across the board. I'm talking on the medical side, but I will say that on the non-medical, the fire side of it, those calls are up as well. When it comes to the budget, really, most of the is driven by the salary costs associated with our department and having that talent within the organization. Again, the increases that you see in salaries are raised out of collective bargaining, but they have had a direct impact on recruitment and retention. Other than that, the biggest single increase we had really was in dispatch. And we use Barnstable County Sheriff's Office Communication Center. It's a regional communication center to answer our 911 calls and dispatch the fire department. We've used their service since 2001 with tremendous success. It is a model operation for fire and medical dispatch. Really in the nation, that operation is top-notch. A lot of their funding comes from the state, and they've had some issues with how that funding stream comes into them. And associated with that, they've had staffing costs increase because of a new collective bargaining agreement for their staff as well. So initially, we had put in, I'm just trying to see if has that number been updated? It hasn't been?
No. So
Okay,
this is
great,
good news
perfect.
live.
Same, live, because it just came in. So initial guidance we got through the sheriff's office was that we could potentially see nearly a double in the costs associated with our operation. That has been revised as the sheriff's office has worked to bring that into focus. And we received the number from the sheriff's office late last week, that next year's cost for dispatch will be $91,526. So it is an increase from what we've had in the current fiscal year, but is not as scary as it was initially. And there is a significant effort. There's 13 fire departments on Cape Cod that use this service. I was in a meeting last week with all 13 of them, along with the sheriff's office, working to make sure that we can control this and understand what that is going to look like going forward for us. It is very much in the focus of myself and my colleagues, along with our partners from the sheriff's office, to look at this going forward long term.
Chief, could you delve a little bit into what's their billing model? Is there a base and then a usage base?
That's a great question, Kevin. And they currently use a per capita population model. So they use a population number and basically divide that number out over all the departments. They figure out what their budget is and then bill that out by department. But that exact process is being evaluated right now to reflect. It's challenging because they use the year-round population. Those numbers change. They're using the 2020 census. There is discussion of other models for that that are more reflective of the type of service they provide as far as number of calls. There's a discussion of, is there a basically per seat cost? So we have to have someone available to answer a 911 call. To get in the door, it's this, and those models haven't been fully solved yet. I think it's important, even though that number has increased significantly from this year, even though it wasn't as high as we initially put in the budget, that to replicate the level of service that we receive from Barnstable County, there are 9+ dispatchers in the room that are focused on serving the communities of Cape Cod. We would not be able to replicate that level of service for anything close to $91,000. So it is. We recognize that there is a cost there, but also the quality of service is incredible for what we pay. So beyond that, I'm happy to answer questions related
Can I
to.
ask a question?
Please, go ahead.
Just on that specific thing, Jeff, as they allocate costs to the different towns and entities, part of that obviously is salaries, personnel. Is there, built in there, is this something that we can look at through the Barnstable County budget? The infrastructure that they need to maintain and their capital improvements that they're probably gonna have to stop making?
So that's a great question, Mark, and that is, so their budget, most of the communications budget comes through the state, through State 911. And that, there is a movement right now through Barnstable County and the sheriff to build a new facility for the dispatch. It currently runs out of 900 square feet in a fire station at Joint Base Cape Cod. Oftentimes, there's close to 14 people in that room. And so they're looking, and it's on the base. And so they're looking to move off the base and build a new modern facility that has different parameters because they are on the base. There's some challenges that they have with being on the base. But all of that project is going to be funded. The construction costs, the capital costs associated with that facility are coming from the state. So it's some of the other like software things, like they're in the process of upgrading the computer-aided dispatch software, which is a big, big piece of that. Again, that a lot of that is being funded through the state, but there's a potential, like what other hardware or software could they use that, and that's what we're trying to work with them through the fire chiefs and the users of that center to sort of plot that out so we can have a sense of what this is going to look like next year, the year after, 5 years out, so we can sort of stabilize that number and plan for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question, Mark. And I have to say too, as a user for a family member a few times in the last couple of years, calling 911 is so smooth, accurate information handoff locally happens, all behind the scenes, and it works really well.
It's an impressive operation, and the management team of the Sheriff's Communications Center is exceptional, and they are tremendously invested in looking at how to serve their member communities better by integrating technology. So we have a major upgrade. We, as a user, have a major upgrade in their computer-aided dispatch software that is coming probably in the fall of this year. They are using a software that hasn't been supported for 3 years. So it is time.
wow.
But what that will do is we'll have an interface that will increase the level of technology and service that we have in the field we use iPads primarily, but that technology in the vehicles that will streamline a lot of the operations and I think will have a tremendous impact on a lot of the things that we do. And it's exciting. It's also scary when you do new software.
You'll get through it.
Yeah.
Andrew?
Thank you. Chief, I have a question, and it's kind of thinking ahead and aware that we haven't been properly staffed for a long time, and we are now aware that you've had facility challenges for a long time. The conversations around accreditation, that, it was an ambition, and does it help? Can you see the process of accreditation still as an ongoing effort that will impact your capacity and success at retention?
Yes. Our efforts in accreditation may not be directly dialed into accreditation because we recognize that there is a number of steps to get there. And that is addressing staffing and the response model, addressing the facility issues that we have. And those are all sort of baked into going towards accreditation. As those things, we sort of make progress on those, we can surely, and it is still a goal that we have to move towards accreditation. And I think what accreditation does, and even the aspiration of accreditation, pulls everything up, because now we are doing our best to ensure whatever steps, whatever policies we have, whatever operation we have, we're sort of matching that to national benchmarks and industry best practices.
Can I follow up?
Please.
Because I'm not sure that all of us consider when we look at investment, whether it's investing in a training center, whether it's the way community policing has put Orleans on the map for an outstanding service, then helps draw applicants and retaining people who can learn something different within a wide-scale options in terms of acting as a police officer all over the country. It draws people. So I'm interested in the value and the priorities as we invest in facility and the ongoing education of our, and honestly, the technology. that as if accreditation is our Northern Star, do our investments in the community line up and then pay, and then you get the return of having the excellence and the desire of people to stay, because accreditation itself gives them more professional options to stay. Because accreditation addresses professional growth.
Yep, and that's, I think, we're already starting to see some of those things. And we've got a long way to go. We've got a lot of work to do. But as we've recognized the value of our people, and they say, ooh, the compensation is intriguing to me, but as, particularly with the people who have transferred in from other departments, is at the end of the day, compensation is a huge piece of this puzzle. But the work environment that we provide as a department, but also as a community, attracts people as well. And that's where that becomes really important, is that my sense is that the collective bargaining agreement got people's attention, and then they started to talk to people who work in our organization. They started to study what happens in Orleans and how the community is so supportive of public safety and the fire department, and makes it a great, and looking at, this community hopefully is poised to make a significant investment in the facility.
Right.
This community has already made a significant investment in staffing in the fire department, and by adding the 8 positions, which was monumental. That was game-changing for our organization. And as we continue to do these things and support it, now we will, with the hopes of a new fire rescue building, have greater opportunities to now train and have other agencies train with us, and that level of service will go up. As we bring that up, the people will notice us.
Exactly.
And
People will come
at the end of the day, where that becomes really important is when someone calls 911 and our talented people show up and they are the best of the best. And it's hard to put a dollar figure on that, but that's what we're, that's the part.
I know Nick wants to speak. Can I just follow up
Please.
with one comment? I think as we're in this budget process, this is the budget workshop, one of the things, economic development yesterday during the meeting said, how do we display our town values? And sometimes, like when you walk around a hospital or a university, you follow the money. So it's how we invest in this budget that our values get displayed, and having the leadership within our departments that demands excellence. And then the return we get as a community for investing in it is where it comes together, right? And so if we follow, both with our capital plan and our annual investments in our salaries and education of our staff, it's their appetite that we can match with our dollars.
I think
Say that.
there's a lot to be said for that. And we're so very people-focused in fire rescue, and that's what we provide for our community, is that sort of peace of mind and quality of life. And I was just like, before I came over, I had 2 notes that have come in from citizens in our community. Like one thanking our staff for being incredibly caring and respectful, even though their loved one had passed away. Like, how do you?
Yeah.
It's hard to put a dollar figure on, but that's what we're investing in, and that's what the investments that this community has made in fire rescue over the last 5 years. That's one of the returns on that investment, is that this family who had a loss felt so comforted, even though they lost their loved one. Like, our staff went out there and did the best they could for that. So I feel like Nick wanted to talk or
Yeah,
something.
come on up, Nick.
Sorry, Nick.
So we can hear you. Nick Athanasiou.
I can yell. No. You mentioned that you're going to put somebody through an 18-month training program. Is that a full-time program off-site?
No.
No. Can you give us a
Yep.
little bit more on
Sure.
that?
Yeah, and talk about
Sure.
overtime.
Yep. It's a fair question. So with paramedic education, the way that it's basically, it can come in a couple different forms. One traditional model of paramedic education is 2 nights and Saturdays that they're in the classroom or attending a lab. The other way is that they attend online through a virtual learning model, and then they participate in person on a weekly basis. Most of our staff right now is using that virtual model where they can flex some of when that is, and then go into class 1 or 2 days a week, depending on, it sort of varies week to week. So it is not a full-time model as far as them being off the line or being off shift. For the most part, if those days line up where they need to be in the class, we have to take them off shift. There has been discussion to move towards, because it is such a protracted, 18 months is a long time, to do a full-time program, which can be done where it's Monday through Friday. It takes about 6.5 months of that, but they would have to be off shift. And there's some discussion at the chief level with my peers of, because there's such a need for paramedics across the Cape, and partnering hopefully with the community college to do something like that. Right now, the college is using that 2-night a week and Saturday model, but running a second cohort with that full-time, and mostly it would be full-time firefighters that would be in that class. But that has not gotten off the ground yet. I feel pretty strongly that that should be a good option for us. Although we would lose someone for 6 months, at the end of 6-7 months, we're getting them back. It takes so long to get people through. But during that 6-month period, the amount of information that we put into those people, it's a lot. So it's an interesting piece of that, how we manage that going forward. But
Chief, they all do a rotation at the emergency center too, right?
So total paramedic education is about 1,800 hours. Much of it is in classroom and skills labs held at their training institution. Then they do several hundred hours of emergency room, operating room, labor and delivery. Pick all the sections of the hospital. They tend to spend time in them.
Wow.
Then they go to the field. And then in that time, they're teamed up with a paramedic who oversees them, a training officer. That can last several hundred hours. And then, but wait, then they can test for certification. And once they are past that, then they do another rotation under a senior medic again. That usually lasts a couple months. So it's a long time. But again, we're putting 60 different medications in their hands. We're putting cardiac monitors and defibrillators in. The types of skills that they can perform in the ambulance or in someone's home are next level. And that technology and the abilities has grown in my 25 plus years as a paramedic. When I started, we had about 25 medicines. Right. Now it's grown so much, and has value. Like it's just, but that job is no joke. It's no joke.
Yeah. Nick, follow up.
One more question. Thank you for that. One obvious statement is that that's a huge investment, and let's keep the guys that we train. But the second question is, presumably, there's professional training that has to be ongoing to maintain certain levels of expertise, et cetera, et cetera. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? What kind of programs are they? Are they off-site? Are they on-site?
Sure. Nick brought all the good questions today. So there's several levels and different layers of required training. I'll start first with the medical side of it. So our EMTs, who have EMT training is the first level of medical training that we have in the fire department. They are required to complete 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years, along with medical review rounds with our medical director. Those are base plus CPR, defibrillator, all those things. The paramedics, it's close to 60 hours. And as well as more of those medical rounds with our medical director. Most of that is done virtually now. But there are 3 days for the paramedics that they have to be in person because there are skill stations. We are not able to do those on site at the fire department because we don't have a training room. Even our medical rounds, which we attend virtually with our medical director, we have to do in our day room because we don't have a training room. So those things are hard. On the fire side of it, then we're sending people to live burn training every year. So the county comes down with their trailer. We pull each shift through. It's one day of that. Plus every day they are doing training. We are also looking to invest in and send people to additional training. So if we have people who want to work on being a shift officer at some point, a lieutenant, captain, or further, there's Fire Officer 1, Fire Officer 2, Fire Instructor 1, and those are held through the state typically. Most recently, they held a Fire Officer 1 in Eastham, which was close, but often we are traveling to Bridgewater, to Stowe, to Plymouth, somewhere for those things, because we don't have the ability to hold them locally. So there are layers within that. We have to have hazardous materials training. We're doing, now we're doing all sorts of things like that. Technical, we have several members on the technical rescue team. They go to drills every month. So there's always something going, it seems like. Does that help, Nick? Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Alice, come on up.
Sorry, Alice.
Just a quick question, Jeff, in regards to overtime. I see the percentage increase this year is really small, but I'm just wondering how you can help me understand with the increased staffing, the trajectory over the last 3 years has been up. How do those track? I don't, could you help with that?
I can try.
Yeah.
I can try. So even with the new staffing, the overtime has continued to stay kind of in an upward move, and that is to address the number of people on duty. Again, a number of those people, as we brought them on, couldn't count as shift staffing because they had to go to the academy, they had to be trained, that kind of thing. A very similar model to that the police use, where they have to go to the academy and then they're still not quite ready. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. We've had a number of people out on medical leave, and that has been challenging as well. And then with the increased staffing, we're trying to have the right number of people on duty. And when we have 7 people assigned to a shift, which is the model we went to, depending on the time of year, several of those people can take a vacation day, a comp day, those kind of things. And we don't have enough room built in right now to absorb that without bringing back overtime to cover those shifts. We're really trying to have, the goal every day is to have the ability to put 2 ambulances or an ambulance and a fire truck on the road at least at the beginning of the shift. And as that day goes, often that ambulance, at least one of those ambulances is gone most of the day because it's going back and forth to Cape Cod Hospital. So prior to really adding the people, our minimum shift staffing was 3 or 4. It's contractually 4, but we run 6, and that's to make sure that we have those 2 resources available all the time. I'm hopeful that as we get the 2 members that are out on medical leave, we get the 3rd back from the academy, that will sort of level off and that we will be able to keep that where it is. It is a big number. It's a worry, and I watch it all the time, but we need to have that staff there in the building. We tried the recall model where we asked people to come in from home. We did that for a long time in sort of not having the people in the station that we needed at any given time. And we've seen that with the data that we've been tracking over the last few years, that just doesn't work. Often 80, 90% of the time when we ask for coverage, we don't get it. So that's the challenge of having that right number. We are maxed out as far as space. You know, would it be nice somewhere down the road, and we'll have to keep watching this, to have increase the number of shift staff, full-time personnel, to keep that minimum number up, you know, with room, with time off and training and things like that. But we don't have the space to do that. And I'm not here to say we need to hire X right now. But down the road, I think that's one of the ways we're going to have to address that.
One thing, Jeff, that might be helpful, and you've done this for me a number of times to remind me, the coverage issue, particularly when the ambulances are out. And I only was reminded because last week I was coming back from Hyannis, and you always look at your fellow communities. It's Wellfleet's vehicle. I saw Orleans. I think I was in Dennis at that point. I got up to Brewster, Harwich, and it was the 2nd Orleans ambulance. I'm saying, oh my God. So he's got both of them out. So what's the turnaround? You know, when a response happens in the field,
Yep.
to the ER to finally get back and be available?
It's about 2 hours and 2.5 hour. 2.5 hours is the minimum, pretty much, and that's from the time they leave the station to basically the time that they're available to go on another call. And that's they're doing care at the house, care in the ambulance. They have to turn the care over at the hospital, often do documentation, restock at the hospital to a certain extent, and then get back. Just this afternoon, we had a high priority medical call. A third ambulance call was when that call came in, and we had ambulances respond back. They were on the highway responding back to staff that, and that's just a common. If we have one ambulance out, over the course of a year, it's about 40% of the time the second ambulance is out. It fluctuates a little bit time of year, like in the July and August, it's like 60 or 70% that those two ambulances are out all day. But even this time of year, it's January, and we're running 3 ambulances.
Yeah, again, if you ever did a day in the life of a paramedic, I mean, the time spent on site assessing, caring, making sure the person's safe to transport is one window, the driving, but I've seen even at the hospital, they can wait sometimes for 40, 50 minutes just to turn that around because of the handoff or because the hospital's shorthanded. We're just no people in the ER to actually even respond to that event.
That we're lucky in that way that time, that transfer time, from the time our crew arrives at the hospital to they transfer care to the Cape Cod hospital staff, for the most part is relatively seamless. In other areas of the country, it is hours. They will wait to transfer care 3 hours before and thankfully we don't. Cape Cod Healthcare does a good job. It's a busy place, but we don't have that on a regular basis.
So one last thing from me. If the deputy is listening, or please send thanks to him again. You can't thank him enough for the paramedic training grant. It was so well crafted, and I think when you look at all the aspects of how that grant request goes in, it's because so much has been put together to demonstrate to those granting authorities, this is the place to invest money.
Federal grants are incredibly competitive, and to bring in a grant of that size for this type of training is really, I think, speaks a lot to the need of the community, but also the efforts of Deputy Chief Gula and how talented he is with that.
Certainly is. Any other questions for the chief? Lynn, please.
Not so much a question, but to echo his comments when he first started. Should we have something that the town pushes out about digging out those fire hydrants? We have too many private roads, because I presume maybe the town, where's Rich? The town might take care of the major roads, but I don't know who takes care of and how frequently the private roads. There's nobody on my street after you turn left at the end of the T, and there's a couple hydrants down there, so we need to get our street associations and private citizens digging out the hydrants, unless Kim has something to say.
Kim has a thought.
Less than a minute ago, I saw, not that I was scrolling on my phone during a meeting, but I did see a post of this gentleman speaking from my phone while he was here. It was very surreal, talking very specifically about clearing out hydrants that just went out within the last couple minutes. So hopefully people are on social media and they share that and they get their information.
Right.
And Tony's got his hand up.
Oh, please, Tony.
As a guy who is constantly looking for savings, all this talk about our increased spending is very compelling, and I buy along with it. But could you talk a little bit about the cooperation among the towns here, perhaps to save some money here and there? Because we're getting an awful lot for tax increases.
Sure. That's a good question. I would say that the communities across Cape Cod, and I'll speak specifically for the fire departments, work very closely together on a number of fronts on a minute-by-minute, daily basis. in so much that, like, when we buy ambulances, we buy through collective purchasing through the state. So we are not just sending our ambulances out to bid, they're bid collectively, so we get the best price on them. Same way with fire apparatus. So even though there might be slightly different colors from different communities to different communities, we are buying a lot of that stuff together. There is cooperation with radios and communications. We had a big changeover in radios a few years ago, so everybody's operating on the same radio system across Cape Cod. But there continues to be conversations about training and how to it's already integrated. We do a lot of our training, like all the paramedic and EMT training is done Cape-wide. It's done together. All that required refresher training we're doing as a group already. So in a room of 50 paramedics, there's 3 from Orleans, there's 3 from Eastham, there's 5 from Hyannis. We're working together so that we're not all having individual trainings that way. I would say that long-term things to look at that would potentially help. One is vehicle repair, and we've looked at that a little bit. We need to dive into it some more. Inspections and code enforcement is another one where I think there's an opportunity to potentially work together. I will tell you that our EMS supervisors meet all the time, and they're sharing thoughts and sharing stuff. Our fire inspectors meet all the time. I meet every week with the 5 chiefs around us. We sit in a room, the 5 of us, my 5 colleagues, every week. Like, there is this spirit of let's work together to solve stuff. And it's just, we are all watching how to be more creative to save money where we can and be really responsible with the tax dollar that the citizens provide us. We are incredibly aware of that. Like, running a public safety agency is very challenging because we're not manufacturing something, we're delivering a service, and it can be pricey sometimes, and that's a worry of mine. I spend a lot of time like, how can we be smart about this while providing the safety to our staff and the community? But it is challenging, and it's been really hard. I mean, think about apparatus purchasing has been an absolute nightmare, and repairs to those vehicles has been a nightmare in the last couple of years. And I'm hopeful that we're going to get some new equipment here in the near future, finally, because we're holding on to stuff that is very, very tired, and we're spending a ton to repair it.
And
Yeah.
Tony, as you heard with the police chief, similar to fire, when you call 911, what's the first thing they ask? Is this a fire or police call? Because they're trying to route it. So we share that common 911, that if we had to staff that here individually, it would croak the budget. Likewise, the mutual aid, Jeff, you might talk, because if we had to staff and have equipment for our peak response, we could never do it alone. So they have a mutual aid system that is working very, very well.
Just as a highlight, just this afternoon, there was a small fire in Brewster, a house fire. It was just over the line from Orleans. I was the first one there.
Wow.
And then integrated with the Brewster crews, Harwich crews, Dennis crews. Orleans had a response to that. So those things we're sharing those. The town lines, when it comes to those things, get very blurry very quickly. There is an effort to work together, and that's, if we had to staff a fire department to deliver the service without calling our neighbors, it would be same way with dispatch. And now with the integration, all of our neighbors are using Barnstable County, so the integration of communications has become phenomenal in the last year with Eastham and Chatham going to Barnstable County. So, and again, if we had to staff a dispatch center with the appropriate number of people to cover those calls and ensure that level of staffing, I can assure you that it's going to be far more than $91,000.
Thank you. Yes, please. Ed.
First off, Chief, thank you for your service. You've really put together an excellent staff. And you've made the commitment to train and develop that staff. The town deserves kudos for funding the expense of that development and competency. So we've made a lot of commitment to our new employees. What can we do to allow the new employees to reciprocate that commitment and say, hey, you've put me through something for 12 weeks, 18 months, whatever. I'm willing to commit to stay here for 3 years and not be poached by another town. Can we work on some sort of reciprocal or a commitment to help us retain employees that we've done so much for?
Illegal.
I'm going to not have our chief answer that, but look at Kim, and this might be a labor attorney issue, but
I just think we ought to discuss it.
it is good you raise it. but-
Typically, these types of conditions or clauses in contracts are not enforceable once the employee has left employment. So sometimes what you will do is something around, they will consider something around bonuses when people come on board, like a hiring bonus, and then you are committed to staying for a certain amount of time for taking a hiring, but not for training related to the job.
But keep the thought going, because, I mean, no, it's, makes perfect sense, but, you know, given the investment, but there are some contractual techniques, I'll call it, Kim, that we can do, but will they fully meet that, you know, sign here commitment? I think that's a challenge legally.
Well, I would just add that the way that we do that is through attractive salary, attractive ancillary benefits that incentivize those folks to stay, right? So even though we can't necessarily make them stay, we try to be competitive and show that we are a great place to work. So those are the things we can do.
And I will say, even though we're not talking about it today, we've made a lot of incredible progress in public safety, but the next overly critical area, which actually became highlighted during the pandemic, is in DPW. And the qualified drivers with CDL licenses and retaining them on a workforce, particularly when you have 2 30-year bridge projects coming on board, and how difficult it will be to attract employees in those conditions. And so we want to be ahead of the curve on that as well. So, you know, we're hearing it, we're seeing it successful here. We might have to tweak the strategy a bit, but it's certainly top of mind for the next couple of years about how we retain our DPW workforce beyond just compensation.
Oh, Michael, you go, chime in.
sure.
Please, sorry.
No, just, I wasn't gonna, but Ed's comment, I appreciate, but, and understand the law that what we can't do, but we also got to, I try to explain to people, remember, when we hire people, hence the 8 people, they may have come from somewhere else where some other community paid for their training. So it's a give and take, and as we hire positions, we sometimes will hire a person with no experience, but we do hire people with experience, again, that other communities paid for. So there is a, there's a free, yes,
and take.
exactly.
Yep.
The only thing I have to bring up, Chief, is in addition to everything and how amazing the department is and genuinely appreciate everybody's efforts, the overtime still, to me, is something we've talked about for years. It's been 5 years,
Yep.
and it's continued to go up and up. And there was at the beginning when we put the 8 positions in play, it took some time to hire them, but it's still going up, even though it's a small percentage this time. It's probably doubled in the last 5 years from where we originally started, about 550, 600 something.
It's probably,
something like that?
I don't think it's quite doubled, but I'd have to look at that, Michael. I don't want to.
Okay, yeah, and I don't want to give you, I'm
Nope.
just thinking back to when we first started this
Yep.
conversation, and the percentage it is to, it's nice to see in the last couple of years, the percentage it is to salary has decreased slightly from about 39% to 31 or something like that. But the salaries have gone up significantly, which during our collective bargaining, which were, you know, definitely needed, definitely supported. But I really would hope that we were going to at least be level this year. And as we get these 8 people, these people get through the cycle of the training session, and we're fully staffed, seeing the overtime, I would hope in next year it's going to be decreasing.
Yeah, the increase that is in this, that was proposed in next year, is related to the percentage of increase to the collective bargaining agreement. and that's where that came from.
It's not more hours.
So it's not more hours, it's to basically continue to try and stay where we are. And we've struggled to ensure that we have the proper level of staffing for many years, and that's what we're trying to address with this, and still invest in professional development and the things that we haven't been able to because we are so focused on answering the calls and staffing those things. And I am hopeful that we will continue to kind of manage that in not so much of a dramatic way as far as the cost. But I'm hesitant to say we're going to bring it down. I want to. Don't get me. I'm very, very concerned about that number. I see that number. I talk to my colleagues, and we are in the middle range of what the percentage of overtime is for fire departments from talking to my colleagues. There's many other communities that spend a little bit less, and there's some that spend a lot more, and with similar proportionally. And so we will look to always to manage that as carefully as we can. And then it doesn't take much to throw that out of kilter as far as we have people who get injury on duty or have medical leave, or we have events like we're currently in where we've upstaffed since Friday night and covered the vacations and things like that to make sure we have 7 or 8 people on duty.
And I know you're cognizant of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and I know you're looking at every penny and making sure that it's as efficient as possible. I'm just hoping, as we doubled our staff in the last 5 years, just to keep it as a percentage with the collective bargaining, of course, as the salaries go up, then it's not really overtime, it's kind of filling in just as a percentage of salaries, which isn't, in my mind, what overtime is. Overtime's a need-based thing, not just as additional salary. So that's just my comments, but appreciate what you and your team do, and thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the chief? Alice, please, come on up.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up to that, because I'm interested in that topic as well.
Wait till you get to the mic so folks can hear you.
Just, again, just a clarifying question, because when you mention this as a part of the collective bargaining, I'm wondering, Kim, this might be a question for you. What is the mechanics of that? Because collective bargaining units wouldn't have a figure in there or even an amount of time.
It's the rate.
They might have a concept of ensuring that we have appropriate coverage so people aren't stretched or whatever. What is the concept that's collectively bargained in regards to overtime for fire?
Isn't it the rate? I mean, the chief is holding the same hours,
Right.
and this is just the rate increase.
So, right, the rates increase in the contract per the position, and then it's those rates are the ones that are used to calculate overtime. So when we're budgeting for overtime, we're using the previous year's actuals, and then we're using the new negotiated rates, and then we're putting a calculation in the budget for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And so just to Michael's point in regards to, a needs-based thing as opposed to a mathematical, right? And I guess, I'm very sensitive to how Jeff does an amazing job, but I'm very sensitive also to there's a level of expertise in just scheduling people in big organizations. And if that's falling entirely to Jeff, that might be something to think about, because it's it can be a circus, right? And with the kinds of pressures and other responsibilities that a chief has, whether it's police chief or fire chief or even DPW, the scheduling adds another layer. And with something like this that can be a life and death thing, there's a lot of pressure around the scheduling. So I would just put that out as something that we might want to think about, whether we need to have some help or some consultation in tweaking the process we use for scheduling staff. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Jeff, you heard it here. Alice is here to help. So and
Excellent. We'll remember that.
Well,
We're grateful for it.
And I can just say, Alice, as chairs over the years do meet with our chiefs on a monthly basis, and I can assure you, Jeff and his management, upper leadership, are working on this daily.
We want to talk about capital?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
A couple of things for fire rescue next year. First is the replacement of what we call the CPR compression machine, the Lucas device. We have 3 of them that are in each of the ambulances. So we bought those over 10 years ago now on a Deputy Gula federal grant. Again, kudos to him.
Exactly.
And these devices are what provide chest compressions, high-quality chest compressions for people who are in cardiac arrest. They are over 10 years old. They are due for replacement. That's the sort of the driver for this. That's where that comes from. With that, we put a 4th one in there to put on the fire engine. So when we have multiple medical calls going on, we are able to bring that device to the scene. Or if one has a mechanical problem, a breakdown, we can still keep the ambulance in service. We did a similar model when we bought the cardiac monitors a few years ago, where we purchased a 4th to either be in a fire engine, or if one comes offline because of a problem, we don't have to take the ambulance out of service. And that has proved very valuable in that model, because when things do break down, the things are a lot harder to repair than they were years ago. So it takes time to get the companies out here to do the repairs. If that piece of equipment comes offline, that ambulance has to go out of service. It does not meet the licensing requirements for the state, so that's why that's important. The rest is vehicles. One is the forestry truck, which is a 2008 model. It's time for that vehicle to be replaced. So that vehicle is 4-wheel drive. It is designed to go, we call it a forestry, so it's off-road, but it also is capable of going on the beach. And it's a much smaller, more nimble piece of apparatus than a fire engine, and that's, again, it's time on that one. We've pushed that one off a number of times, and it is time. And then the other 2 vehicles are staff vehicles, the inspector's vehicle, and they're, again, those are just age and time to keep those things reliable. It's time we start, as we sort of get into the years on these things, because responding to emergencies is incredibly hard on these vehicles. If you remember our struggles a few years ago, where we had one catch on fire and then another one, the frame broke. Like despite our efforts to maintain them, they're used very hard, and it gets to a point where they have to be replaced.
Great. Michael, go ahead.
Hi, Chief. For everybody, the questions I get are, these numbers include the trade-in value or do not?
The trade-in would be included in that, yep.
Okay. So like for the even the chest compression machines,
Yep.
things that may go
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
community, internationally, whatever, they don't
Yep.
get thrown out.
No, they don't. So it's included in that. But it varies a little bit. I don't remember the exact trade-in value on the compression devices. I'm sorry, but
No,
the numbers we get when you trade in an emergency vehicle
Are not good or
are,
good?
are not typically good. So,
I just bought a 2006 something, so I'm.
yeah.
No.
I hope it wasn't used as an emergency vehicle.
Not easy finding used cars.
No,
so.
no.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, go ahead.
Just a quick question for Mark, and maybe the chief will know. We have a green vehicle policy. Are these so specialized that they're outside of that?
They're exempt, and usually they're larger vehicles outside of the scope of green communities.
Thank you, just for clarification if we get the question.
And one piece of info on the forestry, the 169, as the chief knows, I am always in the peak summer drought, keeping my fingers crossed that our wonderful 500-acre watershed is safe, and that vehicle is necessary to get out there if that ever should happen.
Yeah.
But now we've got lots of snowpack, so we'll come out of drought, right?
That's a good point.
Thanks, chief. All right, any other questions on capital from anybody in the room? I just want to say, chief, you've been chief for what? 4?
Coming up on year 6.
Year 6.
Year 6 in
Amazing.
February.
To watch the growth of your leadership, your department, is just incredible. And you've heard positive comments from many people, Ed included. This May, folks, let's get this fire rescue station done.
Yeah.
As it goes to that whole retention and looking out for our people as well as our equipment and facilities. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I know Rich Waldo's here. Did you guys want, I'm looking at Darren or Mark, do we want to delve into DPW or We good for
That's too
today?
big for,
I told Rich he could wait till next.
He showed up, so, you know,
He's just here to be supportive, but I told him he could do the heavy lifts next time, just
So-
because they've been out for 3 days straight.
we are probably going to wrap up the workshop at this point, unless, does anyone have a burning thought, desire, suggestion? We'll pick it up again next Wednesday. Time is February,
29?
4th,
the 4th of February at
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock again.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you making a motion, Michael?
I don't know, yeah, I thought that's good.
I feel our business is done. Oh,
Kevin, you alluded to the fact there might be a third budget meeting on February 11th?
Aaron, you mentioned.
Hasn't been decided yet.
has,
Okay.
yeah, TBD, Elaine, but again, if the need exists, we will certainly, because this is a great way to
It is.
interact, delve in, and again, I can't wait to play at home with OpenGov, so. All right, I think we're done. Would there be a motion to?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to close our workshop, Select Board Budget Workshop at 4:29 PM.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank